Metroid
has
always been.
Oh, looks like we're gonna have to ignore you, Swinnington. So now we're into the Champions Select picks and bans.
But
Catadon has been banned out, and followed by not very much.
Damn you, and damn you for doing that right then. Okay, so Catadon ban. I'm shocked. Are you shocked? Let's go through bans again, guys, rather than talking about something interesting. I mean, yes, serious time, serious talk for serious people with serious faces. Pulse, what are the other bans?
The other ban, open bracket S, close bracket, will be Morgana. And now Riven. And also Shyvana. That's surprising. Morgana has been the primary ban for the team with heavy bot lane every single game, mainly because Moopsy exists in the game.
Yeah, it's pretty much, I mean, we saw it, I think, or at least I saw it first when I was casting with Joe Miller. When I was doing the LCS promotional qualifiers, Moops is a monster on Morgana, and you just do not ever want to let him get that champion. It's too dangerous. He's one of the people that's a ninja with a black shield, and also just has that knack for getting right in the wrong places with Morgana's ult.
Yeah, absolutely. And that'll be followed up by Annie and Dr. Mundo, who was, fully enough, not played in the last game, but has also been banned out. So now we're into the picks. We'll see what Mr. Ralaz picks up for his team of ONS.
Right, so things that are open right now, there's obviously going to be several priority picks available here, but between the obvious Rengar, I think Rengar is probably what they'll go for here, because that gives them the most flexibility, gives them the most safety against other top laners that are actually available right now. But they may have something else in mind. Lucian is once again open, and we could see him play that last game and go something like 9-1, I think.
Yeah, something like that. But you're right with the call, or at least they are hovering over the Rengar, which is a pretty safe pick. Like, he can sustain himself, he can build multiple different ways, even though from what we've seen so far, they really like to build just pure damage. But that has been taken away from Charizard, who likes to build pure damage in every champion he plays.
Indeed. So, right now, we are actually going to be seeing an interesting thing, which we haven't seen in a long time due to banning, which is Mima Rengar. That's quite a scary prospect, especially when, right now, in this situation, with these bans having happened, there is, I think, literally no counter. Like, can you think of a single top laner right now that's available that would counter out Rengar?
I can think of a champion that would cause it to be a farming frenzy for 70 minutes, and that would be Renekton.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, this is actually not a matchup that goes Renekton's way. And I know that's a shocking thought, guys, because Renekton tends to be like, you put him in a lane and then he goes even or wins. But Rengar actually does I mean, if he goes for a tank Rengar, standard build, Sunfire Cape versus Sunfire Cape versus Spirit Visage kind of thing, Rengar comes out on top. He starts to push back Renekton. He out-sustains him and gradually harasses him down, which is obviously what you expect with the Wet Noodle Battle, as I believe is now the official Riot-sanctioned term. But it definitely does go Rengar's way, and then he can move away, start to roam, make plays with his ultimate. Renekton does have an advantage a little bit early on, but it will happen. Rengar will get stronger eventually.
Yeah, but that's kind of the key term, eventually, and between, like, from the start of the lane and eventually, not very much happens at all, ever.
Yeah, fair enough.
So either way, lots of picks have happened since we started talking about Renekton Rengar, even though Renekton hasn't actually been picked up just yet, and that will be Kha'Zix, Kayle, alongside the other two picks, will be Lucian and Vi, and from the opposing team, Lee Sin and Caitlyn.
So interesting that we're going to be seeing. Okay, I say interesting, we've actually seen it quite a lot already, but interesting that we've got the Kha'Zix lock-in, really, the Kayle lock-in at the same time. So we've got very much a commitment here, and looks like we're going to be seeing a Kha'Zix top up against, or is that? Okay, so is it going to be a Kha'Zix top, or is it going to be a Cat Drugs Kayle top lane, which is really, really dangerous because obviously ganks are a huge possibility, but the simple fact that she's so strong in a 2-on-2 means that counter ganking is also a really, really powerful option in that situation. So it could actually happen. I wouldn't bet on it. It's more likely to be Kha'Zix versus Rengar. But how do you think that matchup would go?
Well, initially I'm thinking because they saw the Lucian and in response they picked up the Caitlyn and then in response they picked up Kha'Zix Kayle, I think they may be preempting a lane swap up against Rengar and being like, well, there's no real pickup because of how the bans have gone that we can just pick against Rengar and being like, okay, this matchup will go well, so we'll just kind of swap up the lanes and see how that goes. Like Kha'Zix Rengar in the early game, well, it's Alien versus Predator, and they also have the On the Hunt quest, which I don't think I've ever seen, but that also exists. So I think in the early game they have similar burst damage, but Rengar will start to out-sustain Kha'Zix, he'll start to have serious issues, but if they go for a lane swap up, then that could mitigate a lot of the problems they have.
Unfortunately, I think the quest system is actually disabled in tournament draft mode, which is what this game is. So sadly, don't think we'll actually see that, and even if it did, it's only like a level 16 thing only. Now, okay, so hovering over Blitzcrank at the moment, unlikely, but not impossible. If you're running an aggressive Lucian and you are up against Sona, who likes to get up close, go for Harass. There is a lot of potential to get that grab down. We'll see if they actually lock that in, though.
Yep, spoiler, it's not. It's actually fresh.
Damn. Damn, and I was hoping for an interesting pick. I mean, Thresh.
Yeah, Lucian Fresh, not like we've seen that before, ever, apart from every game that we cast. But either way, it will be Sona, mix it on
we
Sona,
see Lucian
which is...
Annie all the time.
Yeah. It would be more fun if Lucian and Thresh were on opposing teams, because there would actually be something to do with the lore there. But with 10 seconds left on the delay, we'll be jumping to a quick commercial break. When we get back, we'll be in the last and final game of today with Heavy Botlane and ONS. We will see you very soon.
Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Oinkers Never Sleep, ONS, versus a team that is about to run straight into their jungle. Meek's gonna have to run for his life.
Indeed.
I'm Spuddington, joined by Pulse.
Not quite land. Finished that intro. Nailed it. Child's still sitting in the bush though. And Amin being a bit aggressive, but I think he's good to go. So this has definitely shown the type of champions that Child likes. Champions where you build pure damage and your top lane.
Yeah, and indeed now he's sitting quite close to Mixa, but obviously if they can get in range for a death sentence, that would be good. That's going to be very difficult though. Mixa does have at least fast reactions, even if he sometimes goes a bit ham. Cabochard going to be recalling out. And the team is still sitting there. Are they planning on going for a late invade here? Seems like it would be a strange thing to do. But they do have the numbers advantage, and Cabochard cancelled his recall.
Yeah, it would be very odd considering now Chawachards either have to go and walk all the way up to top lane, which in fact it looks like he's going to do, or he was going to go for the 5-man commitment invade, which is again something we don't see very much anymore, Spuddington, because Am will be like, okay, well I'll take my buff and then go to your buff, and you won't be able to counter it, and we'll be even, and then your top lane's behind. So that's why buff trades are just kind of what you see at the start of the game. You never see like a buff taken and then like that team movement, anything coming out of that turns into an advantage.
There was a good point that I saw raised by Monte Cristo actually when I was watching OGN recently, which is if you're up against a jungler like Evelyn, for instance, and you are going to do a buff trade, the interesting thing about that is that it means you now know the enemy's jungle path. It means you know where she started and you already know which jungle buff she's going to. That limits ganking paths, and that can actually have a great deal of utility, but it also costs your jungler the same thing.
Yeah, it's true. We just saw a death sentence at the bot lane and nothing really happened, and they'll just be backing up. But Maima actually chunking down Chawachard as he will just respawn in turn with that level 2 with Starry moves onto the Moopsie in the mid lane, who is actually forced to flash out.
Yeah, really scary early damage from Kayle there. She just hits you and hits you again, and also shreds all your armor and MR, and then also hits you with split damage. So it's really, really scary stuff if she is allowed to hit you multiple times. Ziggs should be able to zone pretty well once he's got a few levels, and especially once he's got a Chalice up and running.
Yeah, indeed. Like, as soon as Kayle lands the Reckoning and then follows it with Righteous Fury, that puts Ziggs kind of in the danger zone, but as soon, like, at the point where that is not landing from Mistari, Moopsie just comes out ahead. As long as he can stay out of range of Reckoning, he just throws bombs and auto attacks and bombs and auto attacks, and Kayle gets ground down. Vault Breaker being charged up by Talal. He's looking for this gank, knowing that Moopsie doesn't have his flash, but does not decide to go all the way in. He still has the double buff and walks on now.
Yeah, Cabochard and Maima, though, are trading off very aggressively in this top lane. Vi is heading up. It does look like Lee Sin may choose to do much the same shortly afterwards, but this is an interesting timing thing. Talal deciding not to go to the Tri-Brush, because if Armin had found him there, they would have been split up, and that is a dangerous place to be. Flashes are available, though. Cabochard could go over the wall to join up with the team. Will he find Armin? This is a really interesting situation. Armin has hit 4.
Yeah, Amin is one level ahead of him, and he's also Lee Sin, who will trade off effectively against Vi. The funny thing against Vi, even though she has really good early game, but Maima's found himself. The Kha'Zix also lands the empowered E, will be stunning him in place, and First Blood picked up by Amin.
Really nicely done there. Talol getting kind of out of there. Pretty much exactly the wrong moment. I think he was expecting a gank for a little bit sooner. Armin obviously deciding to play on that and get some extra farm up, getting his levels up, and then getting the gank down. So this is going to cost Kha'Zix a lot. And I feel like this is a lane matchup that might well snowball and snowball hard, especially if Kha'Zix actually, if Rengar builds a decent amount of defense. He doesn't necessarily need to go full tank like you usually see, but there's another gank in mid.
Yeah, flash forward reckoning. The next flash forwards from Talol. The auto attacks will land. Astari gets taken down. Mixer hooked underneath the tower will also fall in return. Mr. Rales takes 2 tower shots. However, will be able to 1 versus 1 him at this stage. Moving into the brush to maintain that vision. Barrier comes down. Cancel the auto attack. Flashes out of the Piltover. One more auto attack will do it. Mr. Rales trying to get enough HP using that the health pot, moving into the minion line. That might be enough to take him down. Talal has moved there. That's not going to be soon enough. And Hiver will pick up the kill onto Caitlyn.
Yeah, interesting situation though. Hiver cancelling one really crucial auto actually cost him the safety of that kill. Didn't end up mattering though, so not a massively important thing. But going back to that point I was mentioning about Rengar, what I'd like to see is building a Sunfire Cape, because if he stayed in fights like this right now, which is actually looking a little bit iffy, that would obviously give a lot of burn damage and give him the defensive advantage. Plus, it would mean he could then build a little bit more aggressive than you would normally see in top lane, not having to worry about split damage from his opponent.
Yeah, indeed. I feel this is the lane that can swing either way and fairly rapidly. Like, as soon as like a laner picks up those 2 kills, then you can just aggressively just wipe out the opponent. It's kind of like that old thing you used to see in like Season 1, Season 2. It's like if you get 2 kills or you're like 20 CES ahead of your opponent, you have won your lane. But that's even more relevant where you're basically facing up against 2 assassins. Talal coming in from the backside. He's got very low mana, but he's got enough of the Vault Breaker, which will in fact not land. Tanking some of that tower aggro. Mima will be pretty safe up in that tower.
And Cabochard now is nearly out of mana. He does not want to stay in for too long against Mima in this situation, who will sustain himself up. Getting the Claw upgrade now, though, that could change the dynamics of this lane. Increases the harass range from Cabochard, and that actually means if he's standing in the middle of the minions, he might well be able to engineer situations where he can hit Mima, but Mima cannot do anything in return, which is a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take stock of some of the item builds, some of the CS advantages in these lanes. Kayle is slightly ahead of Ziggs because of that initial kill, also has the kill over him, and is just slightly ahead in that regard, but Ziggs isn't really feeling a massive pinch, so Kayle isn't completely harassing out of lane. And then bot lane, Caitlyn's out-CSing Lucian, which is somewhat to be expected, but by picking Caitlyn, that's usually just to kind of negate Lucian's presence in that lane, because what makes Lucian so strong is he trades off well against other AD carries. Caitlyn is so long range that Nardius really can't do that, so neither of them really do anything apart from farm.
Yeah, it makes it very difficult for Lucian to force trades in the first place against him, and even if he does get it, there's always that risk when you're up against Sona that you can walk yourself into the QE combo from Caitlyn and then the power chord from Mixer as well. So as you can see, a lot of farming being done. Nardius will try and take advantage of his strong mid-game, Rala's most likely going to play for the late game. Now, where is the next jungler gank going to be? I wonder. Armin is stationary at his red buff. I'm actually a little curious what he's up to there.
I'm assuming he has the timer and doesn't want to go to another camp and then return again, and the fact he does, there we go. Unless he was just like somehow playing massive minions and being like, Vi will definitely be here. Chalachar jumping on Mima though in the top lane, doesn't go any further. Does not continue up for the isolation bonus damage, but yeah, will in fact just be taking his risk.
Yeah, so there is actually one minor point about this top lane that I do want to point out, and that's mid lane, right? Because Ziggs bombs, this is a very dangerous lane for both of them. They're both likely to go very low. Ziggs bombs are actually a genuine major consideration. If you go under a tower, for instance, as Cabochard could potentially have tried to do there, popping his ultimate against Mima, a bit of a risky proposition.
Yeah, absolutely. And Lee Sin is also hanging around the area just in case he can go for that gank, but won't be the case. We'll just be backing off. Like, the jungler's kind of presence this game from both of these teams has actually been fairly minimal, because Vi is well aware that Lee Sin can one-on-one her very easily, and then at the same time Lee Sin just doesn't really have the gank lanes available to him to make any ganks happen. Top lane's the only place that can really happen. Crescendo lands in the bottom lane and already nukes down Hiver. Vi is also here. Mixer flashes down. Talon does indeed have the ultimate. dashing forward from Nadia's auto attacks come down into the culling. Mr. Rallis will actually be blocking this one up, but with the light slinger, it will be enough to take him down.
Really, really smart stuff there. Getting the gank down just as Hiver went himself. Not obviously an ideal situation. Hiver was trying to go too aggressive, but it was a nice call from Mixer to just go for the burst, take him down. However, Mr. Rallis actually tanking the culling, unable to save Sona, but that's actually going to cost him the dragon because now he's not healthy enough to really go and contest. Zig's obviously not in the area, but they will get the top tower in return. Armin is up there.
Yeah, they actually had a successful gank onto Chabachard, now bringing him to 0-2, and that meant that not only is Caitlyn low enough, but Armin is not there to steal, but Rengar destroys towers, as we all know, and he will be going down that route that you mentioned before, Spurrington, where he will at least go a little bit tanky so he can trade off well against Kha'Zix, and then maybe build some damage later.
Yeah, we will see. Certainly the standard build right now for Rengar and for every other bruiser is something like Spirit Visage, but hook and block.
Yeah, Hiver follows up with the flay into the box. Mixer just waiting it on out, but he is slowly being taken down. But so is Hiver from Mr. Rallis. Mixer is one auto attack away from death. Nadia's, I think he just hit the turret. Oh god, that's not what you want to be doing. Hiver again is one auto attack away from death. Both of these supports will be in that shape. Armin finds himself. Nadius lands to the Q. Will just be kind of dancing around him as Nadius just walks into the tower and dies.
Trying to donate the kill to Mr. Rallis because obviously that would give you a little bit of an extra gold swing in this bottom lane. But yeah, supports with 9 lives there, sitting around just alive and just out of range. So doesn't make too much difference at the moment. Top lane continuing much as it has done for a while, but you can actually see Mima starting to get a little bit of an edge here. That could become an issue, although Cabachard is abusing his lower cooldowns and getting in
Matrix grab in the bottom lane though. Wow. Onto Mr. Rallis, instantly taking him down. Talal flashing forward, but Ammon here for the counter gank. A safeguard to the minion. The insect comes through, uses him as an escape point, and the killing spree for Ammon. Both of them drop.
I'm gonna be honest here, I don't know where Amin has come from, because I typically know most of the good Lee Sin players in Europe, yeah. But he is really showing off this series, actually.
Yeah, indeed. You can probably, like, name them on your hands. Just like, well, there's Shook, there's, okay, they've all escaped my mind, but there's Shook. But you generally know who all the Lee Sin good players are, because generally the opposing team just bans it out. People are so good with that character, it's like, well, if you're good enough, it's worth the ban. Like, people like Svenskeren and Shook.
Yeah, sure, yeah. I guess Amazing would probably also get onto that list as well. But
Amazing.
You know, if you list them all, you start to get into like categorization issues. Well, that guy's really good, but is he quite on the top tier? I don't know. But regardless, though, I haven't heard a lot of CJ Armin in the past. Seen Talol around, but not he himself. Now, one thing that's actually not too surprising, I guess, but kind of interesting is there really hasn't been a lot of action in the mid lane. 1 kill has gone down on Ziggs, but the farm is identical between them, so not really the focus, even though both of these characters can't really snowball the lane, but do scale really, really hard on gold.
Yeah, it's a lane after a point where it just becomes a farming frenzy, and neither one of these champions can really kill the other in like a single combo. Like, cause like Ziggs can't jump onto Kayle because intervention, and Kayle can't nuke down Ziggs because by that time he will wear out. Hiver again gets caught by the ultimate of Crescendo, followed up by Ace in the hole. Nodius backs on off to the turret, nets into him. Culling comes through. Talon comes for the counter gank. Mixer knocked into the turret with Volt Breaker, but is dropped incredibly low. He does not have any mana. He does not have any HP, and Rallis picks up the kill. Will be moving into this tower, gets himself executed, and Istari will not be able to pick anything up this time around. Chawachar drops in the top lane.
Really, really smart there. Right at the end there, just thinking, actually no, I'm just gonna die. So Pulse, I'm just gonna have to do something terribly unprofessional right now and abandon you midway through this cast for just 10 seconds, because I think one of the dogs needs to go out in the garden.
No problem. So Istari will be jumping around in the middle lane, and as we said, the farm is fairly even, but now jumping onto Moopsy, knocking him back with a satchel charge, but still following up the E damage. The Righteous Fury really paying off, along with the Reckoning not able to quite connect, but realizing that Armin is now here, follows up with the resonating strength from the Sonic Wave. Mima's already popped the ultimate, intervention comes down, gotta be careful not to take too much damage, still is tanking the turret. Talal comes in for the counter gank, but once again, does not quite pay off. So 1-for-0 trade, lots of ultimate, lots of cooldowns burn. So Talon's still trading off in the middle lane, trying to clear out these, clear out this farmer's Moopsy, just not quite get hit by the Vault Breaker. As Talon is still hanging around, has in fact also picked up the Spirit of the Lizard Elder, something he's done for 3 games in a row. He's constantly picked up the Spirit of the Lizard Elder, which is an aggressive build, works very well on Caitlyn, but also opts to build that on Nocturne as well. And it will mean he's slightly more squishy. It will mean that he can then itemize tanky later, but he won't hit that instant tanky in his early game. And especially, it's like it's a very good pickup when you're snowballing ahead, because you'll constantly get more kills, you'll have that extra damage. But apart from that, as I think I just heard Spuddington wrangle his dogs.
You actually heard my dog banging her tail on a small piece of metal, but do continue.
Okay. I was just talking about Vi and Talon in general, how he likes to go for the Spirit of the Lizard Elder first over conventional tank items or even the Spirit of the Golem.
Dog, you are much too big. Get out of my lap, please. I can talk. I am back. Let's just say I'm back. Right. Okay. So, don't know exactly what's been going on in my absence, but Talon is setting up for gank and bot.
Indeed, and again, as we've seen every crescendo results in their kill mid lane. Now I just turned away for a second and he blows him up. Challenger's also there. Story follows up with Reckoning and followed with the Righteous Fury. Mima flashes out. That'll be the end of that engagement, but Flash and the kill into Moopsy, they'll be happy with that trade.
Really, really nice again by Cabochard, showing himself to be a really, really solid player, but it does seem like he needs to be on these comfort picks. The champions that are really, really strong on a highly aggressive playstyle, Istari and Amin in a combat situation.
The collapse comes out, doesn't even need to land the Q, follows up, lands the Tempest, lands the Cripple, but it's not going to be quite enough to follow all the way through. Meanwhile, bot lane, Migza is the last one standing as a dual kill comes in for Nadius.
Yeah, I do have to actually criticize one small little thing Cabochard did just do, though, which is he tried to jump away while ignited, could have jumped towards Kale and allowed for the Reckoning to at least give him another couple of seconds to output damage. As it happens, though, not a huge issue!
Oh, Amin jumps over the wall, assassinates Hiver, and just gets out again as smooth as you like. Now has the ward in the Dragon Pit. Ultimate comes down and will steal that as well. Talon drops so low, Amin jumps away from the fight, and Moopsy is also around the area. Nadius using his ultimate just to put Moopsy out of the Dragon Pit, and Amin just gets out. MVP.
Yeah, really, really good mechanics from so many of these players right now. Cabochard actually is in the top lane, going to be trading off against Mima, taking a lot of burst, but I think to Major. Mima's kind of thinking about going really, really, really deep here, I feel. He is tanky enough to dive, and also has enough damage to seriously damage.
Has been forced to flash out, but the follow-up as well. Ace, no, there's no escaping from this one. There was no barrier available to you. Charizard, though, is being followed up by Mima. That bush is in the perfect place. Will just walk out. Also has a Sunfire cape, so the tower's only scratching him and kills left, right, and center.
Yeah, I keep saying it, but there's just such good mechanics on both of these teams. I mean, not too surprising, really, from the guys that were formerly of Super Hot Crew. By the way, Armin, once again, is in the bottom lane. Hiver's going to have to run for his life. Yeah,
lands the Q, flays him backwards during the duration of that dash. But Talon was coming off to the side, will be taken down in time. In fact, he will be. Amin picks up that kill. Say God's out and will be pretty safe. Bottom tower is exposed. No doubt that will be falling very shortly.
It's just constant action, and so much of it is being instigated by Armin, and it's starting to inch their team a little bit ahead. Armin is really, really doing it, and Nadius has made a foolish mistake right now. He's gone back to his tower.
He has found him with the Tempest, the Cripple, Mega Inferno bomb lands, and the follow-up. Legendary will be Armin on Lee Sin. Absolutely incredible Lee Sin play.
And he is reading the map perfectly. He guessed pretty much there that Nadius might well return to his lane, and it's something we're actually seeing a little bit more as time goes by. That particular play, murder the guy as he's returning to his lane, having just suffered a massive case of being murdered. It's a really effective strategy for shutting someone down because it keeps them out for longer, drops them a long way behind, and makes them easier to kill even more if they do happen to come back in, and also makes them paranoid for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Charizard finds himself. Moopsy chunks him down very quickly indeed and jumps in with leap. Follows up, gets the reset, jumps out, assassinates him. And it's not like that heavy Botlane is going to roll over and take this.
Alright. Actually, wait. Is Armin Ku?
I would assume not. But we do have the follow-up from Ammon. Speaking of the devil, the flash of the wall, the Mixel lands the crescendo. Intervention comes out. Istari is also being chunked out along his ally. Legendary will be Ammon once again. Double kill comes out, 10-0 and 1. Honestly, at this stage, if you said to me, Spuddington, that Ammon is Ku, then I would probably, I wouldn't be surprised. But I've been told by chat he's a 14-year-old, and I believe Ku is a little older than that. So I don't know, man.
No, that would actually fit very, very well, because remember, Ku, the reason he wasn't playing with Super Hot Crew when they were trying to enter the LCS and they had Impaler instead was because he was too young.
Indeed, Talon follows up, the Sultan battery comes in, and the Dark Passage to come out, just allowing Talon to get back. I believe Ku's 15 or 16 when I met him, though, and that was only a couple of months back.
That might well be true, I'm just guessing.
Yeah, but no, that was the reason, you're absolutely right, but I knew Ku was a couple years older, that's why I said they're probably different people.
Fair enough then. So, young talent coming into the scene. Always nice to see, especially when they are quite a lot younger than me and quite a lot more talented than me. Now, Lucian actually in the mid lane trying to siege this out, but Moopsy is just clearing that away. He's actually got to be quite careful though. Nardius is kind of almost in one combo range at this point.
Yep, boxes come down just as defensive play. Ammon will dash on through that. Moopsy is also there alongside Mima, just taking Ivor down. He will drop for his ally of the AD carry, who has actually just found Mr. Alice, and will just kill him.
Oh, there we go. Cabochard being chased down by Armin. He's everywhere.
Yeah, indeed, Ammon does not quite land the Q for Charizard, and he just walks on out. But 23 and 10, they are so far ahead. It's not really from objectives either. It's literally just killing them over and over and over again.
All right, actually, Talon now once again in trouble. Armin chasing him down. Can he live? No. No.
Definitely no.
Kale in top though.
Indeed, Kale trading off against Mima. I don't really think he's going to win this trade, and Mima just picks him into the piece of CS as the middle tower is being sieged in. Charizard from the rear will be jumping onto Mr. Rallet. As he jumps out, Charizard flashes forward. Will the ignite be enough? Yes, it will be. 1-for-1 trade. But the 1-for-1 trades are just not good enough at this stage.
It's a case right now where it's just a classic textbook case of how to snowball a game as Lee Sin. He has not merely been able to get himself incredibly strong, he's been able to get his team much, much stronger, and he's shut down the major threat. Nardius is a lot weaker than he would be.
Yep, and is also very dead, and has also dropped. Mr. Alice is down for the count, but the top tower will be falling because Rengar, even though he's built fairly tanky, he still demolishes turrets.
Yeah, getting that bonus attack speed and the bonus damage straight up from the Q, which procs on towers. Really, really, well, I hesitate to call it silly, but certainly very, very high damage on towers, even for someone who has really not built towards that at all and is almost impossible to push out and almost impossible to gank. I mean, I like Rengar. He's a well-designed character. It's still on trouble.
Yep. Oh, the intervention comes out. Just gonna wait for a second. It actually blocks both of the skill shots. Doesn't really matter because he will eventually be taken down. But, well, that was a pretty money intervention as Hiver comes into the action. And Mr. Rallis was also there. Colin comes through, picks up one. Ammon is still there. He's 12-0-2. But Charizard, can he get out of this 1 versus 3? Make that 1 versus 4 situation? I'm going to assume no. Shutdown comes in for Charizard.
And we have a failed surrender vote 3-0. Mima has popped up.
He has indeed found himself. Hiver will be taking him down, getting that jump from the bush as well, moving through Nardius, but the box was placed down, and it walks into another one. The counter gank comes out. Nardius will be dropping incredibly low. Ignite will not be enough on 39 HP remaining.
But it feels like it's just a drop in the ocean right now. With Lee Sin having finally been shut down, that is the right step to get. With Mima finally being shut down, that is the right step towards victory. But there's still a massive discrepancy in gold. They have to try and hold on to these inhibitor towers. The problem is they're seeding so much global gold right now and objectives. Baron buff, for instance, which is just easily taken if they stay in their base too much. It's really, really now looking incredibly bad for ONS.
Yeah, just objective after objective is being taken down, and usually if the opposing team at this stage in the game was picking up Dragon, we'd be like, okay, it kind of sucks, but it's not that big of a deal. But now that we've had the changes to Dragon, it actually scales, and it kind of is now, because they just get even more gold from it, and it's still an objective you need to be taking, and still trying to contest over. Moopsy's found himself caught in the middle lane, as well being dragged back by Hiver. Huge amounts of damage comes out in with the Super Atomic Bomb, Super Inferno Bomb. One of those. And Talal jumping over the wall will find himself Mima, not his ideal target. Assault and battery onto Moopsy, jumps through with Satchel Charge. Histari backs on off, but 3 and 0 trade. Not many of these players will drop low, only Moopsy dropping into the red zone, and our middle turret will just be destroyed.
Yeah, they'll take that very quickly, and they may actually try and go for another inhib tower. Maybe even the Nexus off of that. They do have Mixer for heals, they have Mima for heals and tank. That will be a Nexus tower falling quickly. Nadius picks up Moops on the back line, but they may be able to stymie this push, but it feels like only a matter of time now.
Yeah, they may also find themselves in Nadia's, but Chabachar coming from the base, his home gun has been disrupted. Flash Crescendo lands onto Hive, and not much else. They will be backing up. Histari taken down to the side. Just the Auto-Axe alone will be enough to take him down from Caitlyn. Follow up onto Nadia, follow up to Hive, picks up 2. Talal is trying his best to try and save his ally. Insect backwards. Talal's got nowhere to run, a step away from his base. They can easily try and close this one out. Talal jumping away, Chabachar as well. Mix is just zoning him out, and it will be the 2 pushing champions trying to end this game.
Yeah, they are going to be able to, assuming they're not interrupted, another 9 seconds until Thresh comes up, and no one can recall. They will get this, they will get the Nexus. Mima popping his ultimate there. Actually going to be doing a, wait, was he trying to do a triple Q combo there? I thought he was, like but it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, the game will be ending. See if we can drag him into the fountain. Not going to be the case, and that will be ONS taking this series 2-1.
Really, really nicely played. And